And we are live. Welcome to the second episode of the Martial Arts Mastery Podcast. I am Grandmaster Jonathan Field, your host, and we have a special guest today. It is Dai Sifu Keith Fanning from Dublin, Ireland. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
So, obviously, episode one, where I was talking to Grandmaster Nick Sambury, we did a lot of breaking, and then that's kind of how you and I are friends, is through, again, competitive breaking, and but you and I, unlike Nick and I, have separate styles of martial arts, me being Taekwondo, and you being a very specialized form of Kung Fu. So can you give everybody a brief background of your specific style or brand of Kung Fu?
So it's funny because I just keep taking this earpiece out. The system itself was designed around a bodyguard system, so it was the last line of defense. So every punch, every kick, every strike had to be matched with a break. So from your initial days that you start, you first come in, you first get going. From that day until the day you get to 9th-degree black belt, if you ever stick the course and reach that level, you will break with every single part of your body, from your fingers to your thumbs to your head, your knees, shins, everything. So the whole idea was that the system was built around a savage, no defense, but it was attack as opposed to the defense system. In the earlier days of when I started training, I started training in 1980 when I was 4 years old. And my dad had been teaching from 1972 in a little village called Skerries here in Dublin. And it was known for its no nonsense attack as opposed to defense. So rather than waiting for your opponent to attack you and try and punch you and then block and defend, it was more so attack the attack. So if you've seen the arm coming, you attack the attack. And the basic concept was to destroy the lead arm or the lead leg and, try and take away his best weapons, if you like. But through that, the breaking was the main focus that I kind of enjoyed. I grew up watching the black belts of the time. I could name drop here all day with these guys, but some of them unfortunately have passed away quite recently. But watching these guys breaking at a very early age for me was very impressive, because it meant that I could see these guys, doing a jab, doing a rear cross, doing a hook, doing a front kick. Every technique they could do, they could break with. So for me, it was something to strive towards getting close to them guys,
Yeah, no, 'cause I know, like, so you and I, all the people that don't know, you are actually, I guess, my Sifu. I'm studying
Mm.
your style of Kung Fu, and yeah, so some of the things that you have brought up in my training with you, is, yeah, you're always attacking their attacks first. You're not waiting for them, and then you're always saying about, like, the conditioned hand versus the unconditioned hand. So that's where that breaking conditioning comes into the fact, where if
Mm-hmm.
your hand or whatever weapon you're attacking with is harder than the other person, then you're gonna have the advantage. So like before we popped on here, we were mentioning that we first initially met at the ISKA U.S. Open, held in Florida every year back in 2009, which is the first time that I saw you guys, and
Mm-hmm.
then I guess we really started connecting in 2015, and then just before the pandemic and on, we've really done a lot of training and got a lot closer. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about thinking back in 2009 when you guys kind of came on the scene. You guys were doing some very specialized breaks that well, and you and I see it all the time online. And there's a lot of disbelievers that they think that a lot of stuff that we can do is fake or is set up or rigged. And I know that was the conversation with some of the spectators, some of the competitors back in 2009, because some of the stuff you guys were doing was so amazing that people actually thought that it was fake or set up. So I want maybe you can maybe address that a little bit.
Yeah, it's something that comes up a lot, and I know personally, when we spend time together, we've talked about this a lot, because when you do specialized breaks, there is guys out there who do fake breaking. We know that, we've seen them, we've come across them. Unfortunately, when we came on the scene in 2009, well, actually 2007 was my first US Open, but I didn't meet you till 2009. So 2007, 8 and 9, we had done the US Open, and I brought a team from Ireland there. So, but because we were doing things that we thought was creative and was going to be spectacular for the judges to see, unfortunately, some of the stuff kind of, they looked at it and went, wow, is this fake or is it real or what are we looking at? But the one thing we had really going for us was that we didn't bring our own materials. So when we arrived from Ireland, obviously we didn't have the luxury of bringing our own blocks, our own cavities, our own nothing. So we had to buy everything directly from the source while we were there. So we would pre-order an extra 30 or 40 different patio blocks, some boards, you know, from ISKA, USBA, whoever it was that we were competing on today. But yeah, unfortunately, even today, you know, I done recently. I did a creative routine with some specialized breaks, and while I've had a lot of positive stuff from guys I would consider genuine, real breakers like yourself, Grandmaster Zambri, you know, don't need to name drop everybody, but the people that were there on the day were the ones that I was trying to impress the most. The people who are on online and the trolls that are out there, they're always going to say it's fake, no matter what happens, or they're going to say it's pointless. So what's the point in doing it? You know, and when people don't understand something, you know, my father used to always say, doorknobs are high to children, because when a child doesn't know how a door opens, he doesn't understand how the doorknob works or how the door handle works. So when it comes to the breaking, unless I break down every single break on how I've trained for it, how I've worked for it, how I've prepared myself. And you know, it's funny, one time we put up a video of some of my failures, and it was breaks I was trying to get for, whether it was gradings or whether it was, you know, for preparation for US Open or whatever. And people said, oh yeah, you know, there he is failing. But they missed the point. I was trying to show the point was, I fail more times than I succeed. But if I don't fail, I'll never ever learn. You know, and when it comes to breaking, you know, I was talking to Matt Grogan recently about some of the things he's been doing and trying to tell people. You know, it might look fake, but it only looks fake because we make it look easy, because we failed so many times. You know, and I know you and I, after Florida last year, we fell to a lot of trolling after some videos went up of our breaking from last year, you know, and like I had a bruise across my chest. People will never understand. I held a baseball bat for you stupidly. And I let you kick through a baseball bat, and you hit me straight in the chest, and I was bruised for a week. That baseball bat broke, and no matter what happened, you were breaking it, you know. But people say, oh, fake bats and fake this. And I'm sorry, but bullshit. I was at the end of your kick. I took a full force kick from you to the chest, and that hurt like a son of a, I'm not going to curse, but that hurt. You know,
Well, I mean,
so
but yeah, that particular break, because well, I'm talking about those guys, so I can kick like a mule. But when I bought that bat, again, like what we're talking about earlier about, like you and I travel from Canada, we travel from Ireland. We don't bring our own material, so we are
no,
literally buying it at the tournament, or we're buying it at, like, we're buying baseball bat at the local store at the tournament, right? And so
yep,
I bought that bat, and it was actually shorter than normal. So normally
yep,
there's a certain standard length, right? I thought it was like maybe 2 or 3 inches shorter, which makes it
mm,
harder. And I also just blasted it. And then Master Sanford comes up and he's like, that was a hard break. I'm like, no, it wasn't. He goes, no, that was a hard break. And we're like arguing back. We're like, no, that was not a hard break. He goes, yes, it was. That was hard. But it still just shows you, like, that was a legitimate, so some people will get longer bats to make it a little bit easier, or
mm-hmm,
they get their own bat manufactured, or find
yeah,
bats from the country that are seems a little bit easier. But like that was like a Louisville Slugger shorter bat, just
yeah,
at the store. So yeah, like, people don't realize. And actually, I wanted to look to that point because, like what you mentioned earlier about having to buy extra material so you can practice beforehand.
Hmm.
And because a lot of your stuff also kind of relies on chi, which is obviously
Hmm.
misunderstood by a
Yep.
lot of people. I think it's very mystical. But with the chi, or at least in, each like there's concrete, right? So you have there's a difference between Ireland concrete, Canadian concrete, and concrete from Florida or even some of the interstate, and
Yep.
they all have slightly different. I'm gonna say the word vibration, right? Every
Hmm.
material out there has its own vibration, and because you practice with a specific material or a specific vibration, when you go to enter tournament, you kind of have to retune yourself to get that vibration of that material. Do you not?
Absolutely. And case in point was at the recent tournament with Ken Goodrich. I spent the full day beforehand, so I spent all day Friday breaking some spare material that was lying around, just to get a feel for what was there. Unfortunately, at the last minute, we realized that I had just broken the ones that I had bought off Ken to put to one side for my creative routine. So we had to
Uh-huh.
go straight to a Home Depot and buy some more. And we couldn't get the same ones in Home Depot. So they were slightly different. So I had to, now, if Home Depot ever check their cameras, they're going to see me breaking in their yard, just to see what the material was like. But I had to do it because, like you said, when you're going in and you're doing some of the specialized breaks I'm doing, you have to know what's there ahead of you. Now, last year when I was in Canada with you, I did a creative routine, and ordinarily breaks that I would normally get, I didn't get on the day. A few different factors went against me. The concrete, number one, Canadian concrete is like steel bars through it. Number two, I was on matted area on a sprung floor. So these
Mm-hmm.
now create elements that I didn't allow for when it came to the creative routine. So these are all, when it comes to breaking for real and breaking for competition. And I say breaking for real. So when I say breaking for real, I mean, based on the system that I teach and the system I learned, when you break for real, it's being able to um, punch through a freestanding block, or walking by something and being able to hit it and break it, regardless of the where it's standing. Where we're doing creative competition, I'm now trying to impress the judges with some of what I think is impressive. But this is also something that I learned, and it was actually Larry Fields who said it to me a long time ago, maybe 2009. When it comes to creative breaking, some of my breaks don't register with the judges because they're too big, and they're too. It's not that I'm going for big numbers. I'm going for a single block, but I'm going for, actually, one you judged on 2015 was my finger break that failed. But yet
Mm-hmm.
I got it. I got it the following year in London,
Yeah,
again in front of a crowd.
yeah, I was the judge for that in
So,
2015. Yeah.
but we've had people in the past who have shown up on stage, again, US Open, other local events, in other states, who have had substandard materials and have broken these substandard materials with similar shots that I'm doing now on concrete that I buy off the host. So it kind of, it overshadows some of what I'm doing, but at the same time, I know what I can do. You know what I can do. And as I said to John Walsh last month when we were in Chicopee, was the people who really count will recognize what I've done, and will recognize the gravity of the breaks I've done. That's all that counts, you know?
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Like, when you have me training some of the breaks that you need, I want to accomplish, I get back into it. But yeah, like that, those are no easy tasks. Like, I know even some of the training you had me do when we were in Florida last time together. I asked you about the one, I guess the achieve break or the Simbach break that everybody knows from Bloodsport, where you hit the top one and the bottom one break. You got me to do that on the
Mm-hmm.
first, but then I wouldn't try it
Yeah.
afterward. Couldn't do it. Just like nope. And yeah, you're gonna have some success. You're gonna have some failures with it. Because again,
Yeah.
it's hard. Like it's a mental thing. It's very people just don't understand. They just don't understand until you do it. You really don't understand.
Yeah. But it's funny because I actually had a conversation with with Sharon, my missus, quite recently. We came across a stack of DVDs, that we'd burnt from my camcorder back in the days, like when I was in, I think it was around the fifth degree,
Mhm.
black belt, and there's hours and hours of footage of failures, and you have to watch the hours and hours of footage of failures to get 30 seconds of really good video content where it's all successful. And people don't see that part in the martial arts. They only see us breaking. And again, like, I'm going to go back to a particular Facebook page that filmed us in October, and
Mhm.
some of the trolls on that page. Now, I know it comes back to the fact that his page is getting great traction because of us.
Mhm.
And when you talk to some people to say there's no such thing as negative, people are going to say, "What's the point?" And these guys, one of the funniest ones I think I seen was we did a world record down at Nick's show in Orlando, myself, Gavin, and John, and we got 176 blocks of 200 with Stomp, which we had fun doing it. It was 2.5 hours setting up and 10 seconds to wreck it.
Mhm.
But what people don't see is the 2.5 hours setting up, the planning, the training, everything that went into it. And then at the very end, nobody, like the first 10 comments, nobody said, "Congratulations, guys, well done." It was like,
Mhm.
"Wow, I'd love to see if you could get up a flight of stairs without getting out of breath." I'm going, really?
Oh.
It's
Well,
just, it's,
you've seen all the comments that I get.
yeah,
So it's people are stupid. They don't understand. They're stupid. But a lot of these people are freaking lazy too. They're not willing to put in the work and the sacrifice and effort to do what we do. Right? Like we are at a different level. Like a lot of our friends in the breaking community and in martial arts in general. Like we're all like world level, world champions, world record holders. We are dedicated to our art. We want to
yeah.
inspire each other to that's what I love about what we do. We inspire each other to go to the next level. Like we're not even though we have to do compete against each other at the same time, we're happy with taking each other to the next level.
Like it's funny
But
because John, what? Sorry, just cutting across here quickly. John Walsh was on his first trip with me in October to Florida to meet you and Nick. And I was trying to explain to him, when you're with a breaking community, how much we all help each other. And it's one thing I've always loved about the breaking community that I since I've met you and some of the other guys that are out there. You will help me stack, I'll help you stack, I'll help you prep, you'll help me prep, I'll help you put away your broken materials, and vice versa. So it's not that we're competition, and while we're there to compete against each other, not me and you personally because we're different weight categories, but when you're there competing with some people, but it's a community that's there to help each other and
yeah,
push each other on. And I think that there is egos that come into it, and that's something that we've talked about before. There's huge egos that come into it, but they come and go. It's the people who are
oh
there to help each other. They stay together. And
yeah, I
like,
know the wannabe. Yeah, I've had this conversation a lot. So there has been these wannabes that have the big ego. They think that they're hot shit. They come in like, and you know what? They're here for maybe a year or two, and then when they leave, 5 years from now, nobody remembers them. Nobody
yeah,
remembers them at all. It's kind of funny. Like they wanted a legacy, and then they left nothing. But no,
yeah,
when we're competing, even though again, if we're competing against each other, but at the same time our main competition is ourselves and whatever break that's in front of us. At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to accomplish whatever we're setting out to do. Like first place, trophy or medal, like or a belt, that's a bonus, or getting the world record is a bonus. But if the outcomes that we're going for, that's our true competition.
well, it's. I tried to explain to some people after uh, so because of the pandemic, it's been 4 years since I've been able to get out there. Last year, I got to your tournament. Then I got to Florida to see Nick and the guys, and then I got to Chicopee this year so far. But when I came off stage at Chicopee, and I had. So, sorry, we'll go back to October, the world record and everything else that happened. Okay, there's a few things went against us. The stage, everything went against us in October, but the world record and everything. And then the following day, we done the group world record. We were all there supporting each other, patting each other on the back. And when somebody who can do what you do pats you on the back and says, "Well done, that was really good," you appreciate it. You know, it's like somebody who's never broken a board can pat me on the back and say, "Wow, that's a really nice break." And while I appreciate their comment and I appreciate their support, it's not the same as the likes of you patting me on the back and saying, "Dude, that was really good. Nice one. Well done." Because you understand what work went into breaking what I broke. So when I came off stage in Chicopee and Master Bergamo, Grandmaster Bergamo, and a few other people that were there started introducing me to their friends as one of the best breakers in the world, I kind of went, wow, that's actually bigger than any medal I've ever got, because now I'm being recognized for what I can do by people who are in the business and know the business and have seen what has come and gone before me. And now they're starting to recognize that I have a particular talent and I'm getting good at what I'm doing. And I don't think I'm the best at what I do, but I am striving to be the best. So that's my goal.
Yeah, no, I think, you're definitely one of the best. That's like a weird thing because, like, in our sport, you can't necessarily say anybody's particularly the best in the world because
No,
we all have different specialties, right? Like,
absolutely.
look at I'm just gonna throw a few names here, like Larry Field. He's
Yeah,
probably the best power breaker out there as far as concrete. There's a couple other guys that are coming up, but he has probably won more than anybody else in that. Master Chip Townsend is probably one of the best Taekwondo trainer breakers in ISK
yeah,
at a certain point. You're definitely one of the better breakers or one of the best kung fu breakers with those specialized breaking. I, for a while, was probably the top light and heavyweight power wood kicker in the
yeah.
circuit for about 4 or 5 years. We all have our specialty, and it's like, well, there's arguments to say who's the best. Well, unless somebody has won everything repetitively, it's a hard thing, right? You
But
can't say.
I think that's the beauty of. So Nick Zambri's been around the business a long time. Chip
Yeah,
Townsend,
there's
you know,
one of the
all,
yeah.
all of these guys who I would consider my peers, they're the people that I've looked up to for so many years. Like Chip Townsend has some of the most phenomenal breaks creatively I've ever seen.
Yep.
And we've all tried to put routines together like him. And I love talking with Chip because Chip is he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's like you and me. He's a regular guy, but he's really good at what he does. So you've got the other side of it. Then you've got Joe Serrano, who's one of the guy has medals and trophies just hanging around. Ken Goodrich, John Zurich. John Zurich, I watched John on his first US Open. I was there with him. One of my guys beat him into top spot. But to watch the work that man put in and to have these guys tell you or tell other people, not tell you, but tell other people that you are one of the best. They're not saying you're the best, but you're in the category. That to me is phenomenal, because I know already that you're already listed as one of the best, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I'm telling you the truth. You're one of the best in the business. Nick Zambri had some of the most outrageous creative routines out there.
Oh
And it
yeah,
was
I always say he's the gate. Nick Sambry is like the gatekeeper. If you want to
yes,
win, you have to beat him first. I've
yes,
always said
correct.
that. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So like when you come to all this stuff in the breaking world, so I've had some really good days of power. I've had some really shit days of power. I've had some really good days of creative. And then obviously last year at your tournament, I had an absolutely shit day with creative. But it happens, and again, that's part and parcel of the breaking. But what I've always told people sets me apart from other people is I can break Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It doesn't matter to me. I don't only go to a tournament and break on a Saturday. So I break on the Friday for practice, I break on the Saturday for competition, and I break on the Sunday to try and figure out what I did wrong on Saturday. So
Mhm.
that's where my conditioning and that's where my training takes a bigger hold of me compared to other people out there who can break on the tournament day, but then can't break for 2 weeks later.
You know what? I agree with that because I know, like, sometimes there's these guys out there that can naturally just hit hard because
Yeah.
they just, like, they hit like a sledgehammer. There's no time, right? But then, like, okay, well, now 5 minutes from now, do it again. You can't? Why? Because your hand hurt?
Yeah.
There's the difference right there.
Yes.
I mean, the
Absolutely.
conditioning that definitely when you start working with me back in well, the first time that you came over to my tournament, that was what,
18.
2017, whatever it was, when I had it at the Fort Hope and I was doing that one world record, I said to you, well, you had me doing a little bit of conditioning, and then when I did the one world record, I came to you afterwards, like my hands and my feet were tingling. It wasn't like a pain, but it was
Mm.
like a tingling sensation that I've never felt before. And you're like, that's your chi. You said you got yourself into that flow.
Mhm.
I could have went again and again and again. Ever since then, like a lot of my training routine after I've done them, I'm like, let's do it again. I could have just done it again and again and again. My body was just, and that's the thing that you have to have if you're going to be a really good breaker is that conditioning. Because it's the same thing if you had to go out and defend yourself on the street. Because that's where breaking probably the most relevant is on the street. If you're
Mhm.
going to get in a street fight or defend yourself, you have to be able to hit somebody or maybe multiple people hard and on spot and not hurt yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. But it's funny
So,
you mentioned the chi. The chi is something that people I try to explain to people when you see certain people and you know and that's how they build their chi.
uh,
And then people have said, but Keith, why do you look so calm? Because that's how I build my chi. I
uh,
calm myself. I go into a little bubble in my own head where I create a bubble around me and I try and block out external forces. And I just think about my chi and I ground myself to the ground. I pull in the energy from heaven. Now, when I say heaven, I'm not talking religiously. I'm talking, I'm taking everything from the North Pole, if you like, from the northern
uh,
hemisphere. But I take everything in and then I let the ground pull me into the ground. So for chi work for me, there's not enough people out there doing chi work because chi work, I how can I explain it properly? If more people did chi work, the numbers would be so much bigger, so much better. Um, Numbers are fantastic. I love seeing people getting out there. Your tournament actually, my first tournament in Canada. Like I think Stephen Bruno hit like a 20 on a stump, 20 boards on a stump.
uh,
Like I think Drew Serrano punched 20. I think there was another kid there who managed to elbow 22 or something. Like it was like, wow.
oh
Like
yeah,
these
if that was that year, that was what's his name? His last name Palmer. I can't think of his first name. I know who you mean. Yeah,
yeah,
he beat the Burns record. Yeah.
like it was absolutely phenomenal numbers. And but that day the chi was working really well for everybody, including me. Like I was hitting great numbers that day until I came to
Yeah,
concrete.
I think my
You know,
chi was kind of on that. Maybe it was just the atmosphere of all of us, and our chi was
yeah,
kind of working off each other, right? That could have
yeah,
been it.
yeah.
Because obviously it's like osmosis, right? You see one person do well, and then you're gonna do well, and everybody was in a
Yeah.
good mood, and yeah, yeah,
I think
for sure.
I think that day you started off the whole tournament with a world record, and I think that gave us all a buzz and a boost, and I think that was something that Ken Goodrich did in Chicopee last month, where he got me to open the show. So there was kids breaking a pit, but then before all the adults and stuff got started, he got me to open the show with that creative routine, and that just kind of set a buzz around the room where people were hyped and people were buzzing and the numbers were phenomenal. So like that again comes down to energy, it comes down to chi, it comes down to stuff that people try and say, oh, that's bullshit, and these guys are trying to key themselves up, and then but it's the truth. When you're up there on stage, you're trying to hold your energy. And I think I tried to explain to somebody before, US Open, maybe 2008. We registered at 8 a.m. to break. We didn't get to break until 11 p.m. that night.
Oh, I
It
know.
was it
Years
was
ago.
horrendous. It It was horrible because all day you're sitting around, you're trying to keep your energy up, you're trying to keep you're having and the food there is crap. Like let's be honest, the food is crap. You're getting a sandwich like for $12 and it's like bleh. So you're just trying to keep your energy up, you're trying to keep your chi up, you're trying to keep your motivation up. And then finally you get to your break and you're going, I just want to break this and go home. I'm so tired.
Oh, I
But
know, I know. And the girls, like some of the girls here will like talk about that, like with our power kicking that. We were power kicking at 11:30 at night. It's like, what the heck? Like almost like you just want to draw straws for who wins and then not break because you know what? There's more injuries that
yeah,
happen too because you weren't like your chi, your mind weren't protecting your body because you just weren't 100% there. Like that's why I always try to. And even my couple of my tournaments now, we start at like 9 o'clock in the morning and we're done by 3. Like, and
yeah,
it seems like every year that I grow my tournament, the more people we get, we're still done at 3. We figured
yeah,
out the system. It's like a 6-hour tournament, and then we go out and have dinner at like 5 o'clock, right? Like that, that we always enjoy that. But so yeah, and then when actually last year, talked about setting the atmosphere for the day, like yourself, myself, and Grandmaster Sambry we did a 3-person world record,
yeah.
and those boards, even though we set the record, those boards were hard. Like I remember hitting those things like, oh my god. That might have set the tone for some of the other people later in the day. Because some of those boards were just they were rotten hard, and that's another thing people don't realize. Sometimes the material, like you get the exact same tournament. Sometimes the material is easier.
Yeah.
Sometimes the material is harder. But the thing is, all competitors are in the same boat at that particular tournament. We all have the same supplier for that day, so
Hmm.
what it is. I mean, we've been to a lot of tournaments where it's like that material sucks, but we're all in the same boat. And then we've
Yeah.
had tournaments where the material is awesome, and we all had really good breaks. There's that factor as well.
Yeah. It's funny because the boards that myself, you, and Grandmaster Zambri used for that record, I just, oh yeah, okay, the boards, but you must have had them stored in your dojang since
I
before
had those things,
COVID.
I had those things stored. They've been indoors in boxes cut since 2020.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna say,
for
yeah.
3.5 years, they were indoor and they were still hard as a rock.
Yeah, they were unbelievable. But it's funny. Even the boards we used for competition that day, um, people were going, "Oh, these look easy. They were a different color. They were everything." But Mike, once you hit 10 plus, wow, there was a spring out of them, and they
Yeah,
kicked.
you're talking about Taekwondo style boards that
Yeah,
basically most Taekwondo tournaments use, or the Kukiwan or Munikwan, they use those boards because they're cheaper to get a hold of.
yeah,
Uh, and but they're made of like a bamboo style wood,
mm,
so they consider it a hard softwood. But yeah, like 2 or 3 board, 4 or 5 board, no problem. Once you kind of get to that double digit, it
yeah.
makes the breaking so much harder. So the people that think that that wood is so much easier, they haven't done power breaking with that wood. They have
No,
not.
no, no. And then I think on top of that, like when you look at the concrete breaking from that day, just to show how hard Canadian concrete is. Um, I would normally go through 10, 12 patios easily with an elbow, with a power elbow. That day, I won your tournament with an
Yeah,
eight
so I know. It's
patio.
always like yeah.
That wasn't easy. That was hard.
No,
That was
like
tough.
almost like even like when I've had like phenomenal like guys that really specialize in power elbow, like Drew Serrano and Larry Field, when they come up and they hit it, they're like, oh my god. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, those are big boys. Those are guys that hit hard. They specialize in that break, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
you and I are more creative breakers per se than the big power breakers. But no, even I know myself, I've only ever once hit 10
mm,
and that was like must have been a fluke. I hit that once and it broke 10 and 10. But every time I break with Canadian country, it'll cut me more, it'll bruise me. But then I go down to Florida, that stuff feels like so much different. It's like sure, like no, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it's easier or softer, but you know what I mean. But when I say it's softer, I don't mean it's
oh
softer,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it
Well, I
definitely
think
doesn't affect the body the same.
the stuff down in Florida holds moisture a little bit more, whereas the Canadian stuff dries out and kind of hardens quicker because of the temperatures. It's a bit like here,
Yeah.
you know, our concrete here is a full 3 inch, where the patios out there are 16 inches by 8 inches by 2. The
Yeah.
concrete blocks here are 18 by 9 by 3. So yes, they are a little bit longer, but they are thicker, more dense, and there's real stones in the middle of them. And I know when you came out here in 2018, I was showing you some of the materials, and some of the stuff we were breaking wasn't that nice, you know. But it's like you said, you've gotten used to Canadian concrete. I've gotten used to Irish concrete. When we get to Florida, or we get to wherever it is in the US, we have to figure out what we're doing and how we're doing it, and we have to adjust and adapt to what's going on because it's so different for us. You
Yeah,
know,
I know. If I want bigger numbers, it's Florida. Florida is
yeah,
sent me the bigger. I always have bigger numbers in Florida when it's creative or on the power break just for whatever reason. But I know like when I was over like the difference even difference between competing in England and Ireland. Like I know what in England we ended up having to cut the slabs a little bit.
yeah,
But I
mhm,
remember when I was competing at your tournament in Dublin there, and it was my fault. I didn't stack that many up. I stacked it too high and I hit that thing. Nothing happened. Nothing. Like, and I hit that hard. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not used to that material.
yeah,
I probably should have practiced the day before or earlier that day. I should have tried one to see how it felt.
yeah,
That was probably my fault. I should have known better. All of that I should have known better. But then, like, even in when we were in England at what was it? What was it? The
World
World
Power
Power.
Show.
I think it was, and you brought a bunch of the Irish team, and there were two of us Canadians, a bunch of Americans, and
Yeah,
we were all you supplied the wood, and it
the
was like
wood.
a
Yeah,
1 inch unplaned wood, and that stuff was way different than anybody was used to. Very flexible. I remember we were all doing the power elbow event, and I won the power elbow 8 of 8, and nobody else, even the heavyweight, nobody got
no,
more than 8.
no.
I think the next guy was John Sura, and he broke like 7 of 8 or something like that. I mean,
Mhm.
I broke a 300-pound guy. You know, it is what it is. But it was just like that wood was so flexible. You
It
know,
was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And you know,
but
unfortunately, it was all we could get at the time, and it's what we used. And okay, they're okay for one board or two board breaks. When you start getting up into the bigger numbers, 7, 8, 9s, and when I brought the tournament here in October 18, wow, some people got some big shocks that day, you know. But look, it was what it was. It worked out, and we had a good day, and nobody got injured, so it was okay,
yeah,
you
but
know.
the good thing was, you know, we were all in the same boat.
Yeah,
Like literally, we were all bringing the same material, so it was fair that way. But then we had stories to come back when we came back to the Canada and the state. We were talking about that material. I actually brought one of those doors home from England just to show people like this is the stuff that we were breaking. I think I still have it, and because it's this story that we can come back to. Hey,
yeah,
this is the experience that we had, but it was fun. You know,
yeah,
yeah, we could get
absolutely.
numbers that we normally didn't get. Who cares? It was fun though. But I want to also go back and because this is gonna sound a little bit weird for some people, but like a white guy, you're a white Irishman, and you're like a grandmaster of Chinese kung fu. So can you kind of go in the background, like, so are you? Was your dad the first generation in your family to do it, and then you, or like, what's the whole backstory of like from you and before?
So the story starts in 1960. So 1960, my dad was 8 years of age, and his mother had just died, and he was getting picked on in school. And a guy, I keep exposing the microphone here. Sorry. A guy seen him being bullied and decided he was going to bring him to a karate class called Kokushinkai karate class. It was brand new in Dublin. It wasn't really around too long. But from that Kokushinkai class, he went on to a school run by a guy called Murakami. And Murakami was a Chinese fighting arts teacher. So it was basically Sanda kickboxing. And from there, it kind of escalated onwards. So he went then from Kokushinkai, he went into Sanda, he went into Kung Fu. The master started to recognize that he was a lonely kid who didn't have much else outside of Kung Fu and martial arts. So that's why they kind of put a bit of time into him, even though he was a white Irish kid. He had the time. He would get it. He was always first to class. He was always last to leave class. He would always sweep the floor before he left. So fast forward then, 1972, 12 years later, my dad opens his own school in a room which would have been the equivalent of a small sitting room, a small living room. And he had maybe 20 people in there doing live knife fighting, block breaking, live sparring, all at the same time in a room with really badly ventilated room with a fire in the corner, fireplace in the corner with an actual fire burning on a winter's night to get you warm. So that kind of where it started, and it went on then. You know, some of the people who trained my father back in 1972 are still friends with me today, and one of them, Peter Dunn, my uncle, still coaches and trains with me. You've met Peter numerous times. But that's how it got handed down to me. So at 4 years of age, 1980, my dad started my training. You know, there was a lot going on at the time. We lived in a 2-bedroom house with 16 students living in the house with us at the same time. So my mother had a lot of cooking to do every day for all the 16 students, but they were the full-time students who were trying to progress through the ranks and get up the levels. And some of them were going off into the fighting area of the kickboxing. Some were just predominantly Kung Fu. So it was kind of a mixed and matched everywhere. Go forward again, 1996, I moved to the UK. My dad was living in London. I went over there training full-time with him and living with him. And it was, I think I've told you this story before, where I get up in the morning and to earn my breakfast, I had to be able to stretch. There was 2 tape marks on the floor, and I had to be able to stretch to that point or further to earn my breakfast. So you were woken up in the morning, straight downstairs. You did your loosening out. You went in. You done your stretching. You had to prove that your splits were better than they were the day before, and then you had your breakfast. Then you had your training, and then you had another task at lunchtime. Then you had more training. Then that night you had class where we would earn money through teaching other people as well, you know. So it was a lot of the time revolved around just training, nothing else, only training. And on a Friday night was our only night off, so we trained 7 days a week. Friday night was the night my dad liked to go to the coast and get some fish and chips, or we'd go to the movies and watch the latest movie in that was out at the time. But that was our only time off. Otherwise, we trained. And every second weekend, we were fighting. And whether it was in another school, another dojo, whatever, we'd go in, and my dad would go in and he'd say to you, "Who's your best fighter here?" And you'd say, "Johnny Bloggs is." And he'd say, "Okay, well, let Keith and him spar." So we'd go out and we'd spar for a couple of rounds. And it was his way of testing my training without having to put me in a ring. So then we started doing all the ring stuff as well, but the ring stuff was very restricted in the terms that I had gloves on. I wasn't allowed to use my fingers, my thumbs. I wasn't allowed to use any of the specialized kicking. It was just purely kickboxing, you know. So that's kind of how it progressed. Then around 2003 or 4, I kind of really got into the breaking side of things. About 2004, yeah. About 2004, I really started to progress with breaking. And then here, I'm just going to show you this. My Iron Palm medallion I earned in 2006, April 4th, 2006. I earned that in London after completing a series of breaks. And yeah, it's just been continuous after that. And the next thing I seen was a YouTube video of Drew Serrano in 2007 doing creative breaking. I went, yeah, I want to try that. And, you know, the rest is history. I met you after that, and that's how it kind of came about, you know.
Oh, yeah. That video would have been North American Championship, I think. I think that's,
Correct.
yeah, that's the video I've come back and watched many times as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been, you know, it's been a long road, but when what I try to explain, when I meet you, we don't talk football. We don't talk women. We don't talk, what's our favorite food. We talk training. We talk
Mm-hmm.
a mutual and a mutual love, because that's what we do. And I love meeting people who are like-minded like me, because, to be honest, when I grew up, my dad didn't watch football. My dad didn't watch rugby. He didn't watch, if he'd watch a movie, and he would ride a motorcycle or he would drive a car. That was kind of my dad's thing.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of training, he loved motorcycles. He enjoyed cars, but cars were just cars. But he loved watching movies. So that was kind of my hobbies growing up. So unless I meet somebody with a similar hobby interest, I don't know how to, I don't follow football. I don't follow, anything. So I don't know how to talk to people about what's going on in the world of football. I know what's going on in the world of martial arts, but that's kind of as much as it goes. So my conversation skills get limited at times, where I try and keep up, and I'll ask a question, go, how is such and such team doing? They go, they haven't played in 3 weeks. Oh, sorry. And it kind of revolves around. So my interests are mainly training, martial arts. Obviously with the chi stuff and the healing stuff and all the therapies I do, I love all that stuff too. But when I get time with the likes of yourself, Grandmaster Zambri, all these other people, we could, as I said, we could name drop all day. We've got Bergamo, Serrano, we've got Fields, Sullivan, Townsend. We've got all these people. We talk training, we talk breaking.
And you know what? You are right. Yeah, most of us, like, that's basically me. It's all people ask me the same thing. What sports do I watch? Blah, blah, no, it's martial arts,
Yeah.
it's motorcycles, and it's cars and movies. Almost the same thing as your dad, my friends. I think we're all kind of. I think it seems like all the martial artists are just in that, like the ones that we do, like what are in that same boat of no, like we're totally dedicated to what we do, and
Mm,
that's martial arts. And the martial arts world is huge. People don't realize how huge the martial art world really is and what you can really get involved in. But now your ninth son
mm.
in Kung Fu, in your style of Blue Dragon,
Ming
Ming,
Chuan, yeah.
I'm horrible at anything but Korean. But yeah, so like you're a ninth degree, but you're only what, 45, 46,
47, 48 this year.
48. All right. So for a 48-year-old to be a ninth god, that seems to be to most people be really young. I know I'm a seventh degree at 41, even though I'm about 5 years older than the minimum age for Taekwondo. But like
Yeah,
for even to be like a ninth stand, um, how is it that you can be at 40, almost 48 years old? How can you be a nightstand in your style?
that's actually a brilliant question, because when it comes to the system, and I've shown you the I know I've shown you the syllabus, and I think I've emailed you the syllabus.
Yep.
But the syllabus is based on ability. So if, for instance, you get your first degree black belt with me, and you've passed all the breaks that you need to break, and you've passed all the techniques you need to break, you can literally start the following day on your second degree breaks. And what my dad used to do was he'd get you to a certain point and he'd say, okay, he knew I could break one block with a side kick. That was part of my first degree black belt. But because of the size of my legs and the power of my legs, he knew I could break two as well. So on the day I did my first Dan black belt grading, I also broke my first break off my second degree grading to keep me focused and keep me interested. So I had to keep me interested, and I had to keep, because you've seen people, they get their black belt, then they fall away for a year, then they come back, and now they want to read. So he wanted to keep me interested. So he also had to explain to me that the syllabus itself, based on the hours I train and the amount of work I put in. So this is where I've explained to people before. So the average karate black belt has trained 2 to 3 hours per week for 4 years to get a black belt. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now when you start doing the maths and you start working it all out, okay. So 2 hours per week for 1 year is 100 hours, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 100 hours multiplied by 4 years, 400 hours. Okay, now my average training week consisted of 8 to 10 hours per day, 6 days per week. So when you start adding the hours, you start adding the ability, you know, if I was able to, like, I got my first degree black belt, and I think it was 13 months later, I got my second degree, because I was able to do all the techniques, I was able to do all the breaking, and I was able to teach what I was doing too. So then my third degree was a bit more intensive, because there was a lot of acrobatic stuff in that. And my fourth degree was more so the change of some of the internal breaks, you know, the hitting the top, breaking the bottom, that kind of stuff that I've been working with you with. So for me, at 48 years of age, I've already had 44 years training.
Mm-hmm.
So 44 years training, and from 1996, it has been pretty much 96 until 2001 was pretty much, say, 8 hours. We're going to average it out 8 hours a day. When I came back to Ireland, then it became 3 to 4 hours per day, because I wasn't training with my dad so much. I was having to work and train, but I was still putting in 3 to 4 hours per day, 7 days per week. So my time accumulation was much higher than other people who was out there doing, you know, the Japanese systems are, I think it's 2 years from first degree to second degree, 3 years from second, something like that. Anyway, I'm not sure exactly. I have learned it before, but they have a system, and the way the system works, that if you're 20 years of age when you get your first degree, technically you should be 60 something by the time you get your ninth degree.
Yeah.
Because it's, but the other side of it is that, yes, time served, but if you show up for your grading, get your grading, go away, show up in a year, do a couple of classes, show up a year later, do a couple of classes, and do that for the 6 years, you're eligible for your seventh degree, because you kept yourself active in that time. But that's where we differ, you know, where there's no honorary grades. In Blue Dragon Mechuan, there's no honorary grades. Every grade you must break, every grade you must achieve, and you must be awarded. So for me, my ninth degree, I had the beautiful, what's the best way to put it was, I got the confirmation that I was eligible to go for it, and I could start doing my breaks. This all came through my dad's widow. My dad died in 2013, as you know. My dad's widow still has contacts with all the masters and everything that we trained with throughout London, and that my dad still had contact with in China. So she sent me an email saying they've just agreed that you are now capable and you are now eligible to start for your ninth degree if you want to. And I had to film every single video. I had to do a full process. I had to be able to show that I was doing. So on the syllabus it says bone setting, acupuncture, and herbalism. 3 things that I had to learn. But when I said to them, academically, I'm not great at learning from books. So herbalism didn't really interest me. Acupuncture, yes. Bone setting, yes. Acupressure, all these things. So they're all the courses I did instead of herbalism, to counteract the herbalism, because I wasn't really interested in herbalism. Still not, to be honest. I love the Tajao and stuff, but I don't like the herbalism side of things. It just, I find it, not that it bores me, but it's just something I'm not interested in. Mm-hmm. So then I had, he would be a Grandmaster, but I know Mashidi Zhu, Terry Kinsler, who was able to, he's the highest ranking Shaolin Kung Fu guy here in Ireland, and he was able to verify everything I did for me. He's known me since I was a child, you know, so he was able to stand back and verify everything that I was doing, and he signed off on it. And then I had the honor of being able to bring my certificate to America, to a tournament, and everybody I met wanted to sign off on it, that they were allowed to sign off on it, because they were somebody higher than me, ranked higher than me, that was able to sign off. You know, Paul Hickey Rock Bermo, Drew Serrano. There was a lot of them. They all signed off on it, So people have said to me, oh, you can't be a knight down at your age. Well, I have every single certificate from my first degree to my ninth degree signed, sealed, and stamped by grandmasters above me who've all verified everything I've done. Plus, I can also teach everything that I can do. So, I had this conversation with you about 5 years ago where I could have just sat back and went, you know what? I started my own system. I could call it Blue Dragon, whatever I want to call it, and I'm now the listed Grandmaster. I didn't want to do that. I still don't like using the name Grandmaster, even though I have certificates to say that I'm a Grandmaster, but I don't like using it because I don't feel in the Kung Fu era, the Kung Fu element and the Kung Fu circles that I'm old enough to use that name. That's why the Dai Sifu was, so Sifu was my title up until this year. Then when I got all the certificates for Grandmaster, and I was talking to a particular Grandmaster in Spain who would have trained my dad. I always get his name wrong. Sifu Carrasco. Anyway, he said to me, look, Keith, you're already a Grandmaster. I know you want to stick with the Sifu. The next step for you is Dai Sifu, which would be extraordinary Sifu or greater Sifu or bigger Sifu. So that's where the name comes in now.
Yeah, I know titles are weird in martial arts, right? I know. Yeah. My title is officially Grandmaster. I still really people just call me Master. I haven't seen people call me Grandmaster, but it's like it's such a weird thing, and we know it's really just a title, but it's not an equal thing for some of us. Some of it definitely is an equal title. I've met Taekwondo masters where it's like I'm Grandmaster, whatever. I'm like I don't give a shit, like. You're still putting pants on like I do. But going back to like time served, like yeah, so like I'm kind of the same boat where once I started training, I was right from white belt till now. It's like nonstop. I'm training multiple hours every day. I'm training way more than the average master and grandmaster my level. I'm still training. I'm still competing. I'm still trying to gain knowledge and continuously improve. And like that's definitely the thing that definitely set you and I apart from some other people. And a lot of our friends are in the same boat where yeah, we're well beyond time served and what we do every day. Like training really is training for us. Like we just don't show up. Like yeah, I know like some people just they show up, but do they really show up? I was thinking about that even earlier today, like with certain ranks that it's like just because you show up, are you really showing up? Like just because you come to a class or you come to a training session, are you really, showing up? Like your heart, soul, your spirit, whatever. Like you gotta show up. But so we're almost done here. I just put on the screen here your website seafoodfanning.com for anybody that wants to reach out to you. But can you just spend the last couple minutes kind of telling people currently like what services that you currently offer, whether it be in person or maybe internationally, what services that you do offer to people?
Well, I've got the Kung Fu programs. I've also got all the breaking. I've got, the Iron Fist, the Iron Palm, Iron Finger, Iron Leg, Iron Head. There's all these levels of the conditioning that I offer. One thing I do want to get straight with a lot of people, I don't give it for free. You know that, everybody else knows that. People message me on a daily basis saying, oh yeah, I love what you do. Can you show me how to condition? No, not for free. I'm sorry. I paid money for it. I put a lot of work and effort into it for me to give to you, for you to give to somebody else, and you to earn money off it, because that's happened to me. So because I've been bitten on that one, I don't want to give it away for free anymore. I've taught people how to condition because they became students of mine, and then they're going off and they're teaching other people. Not only are they teaching them, they're teaching them wrong. And now they're saying, oh, I've done that Iron Fist training, and that's not worth shit. And I'm going, hold on a minute, the hands speak for themselves, just because you learned it wrong doesn't mean it's shit. It's just you've learned it wrong. So I'm sorry, somebody taught you wrong. But for me, I've got the healing art therapies, which are on the website as well. I've got my Iron Fist and my Iron Body conditioning systems. The Sanda kickboxing, which is one of my loves. I still teach kids twice a week at the moment, adults twice a week. Not as big as it used to be when I had my own school, dedicated school. Unfortunately, that closed just before the pandemic. Thankfully, just before the pandemic, because I think it would have ruined me with the cost
That
of
was
trying to keep.
that was a blessing. I think that naturally, when you look at it now, that's probably a blessing in disguise,
Yeah, I
probably.
think that was a blessing. And I want to say openly as well. I thank you, because at the time we were talking back and forward, and you were great support to me at the time, because there was a lot of issues around that time where I felt I'd failed and stuff, but you were helping me to understand that I hadn't failed. It was just the circumstances, and with so many gyms around me and so many different clubs opening around me, it was just one of those things where I couldn't
Mhm.
afford the cost anymore. So, and it's a tough program, and it's tough business. But what I am trying to promote a lot at the moment is my seminars, and international seminars, where I'm able to travel back and forth to Canada and the US again. I'm hopefully back out in Switzerland very shortly. I'm going to be back in Spain very shortly. And I'll be teaching seminars. So if people want to learn not only the chi work, the breaking work, the kung fu, weapons, just send me an email. I've got instructor programs there where if you're an instructor and you want to train behind closed doors with me, again, I can do that. And the beauty of online at the moment, as you know, because we've done so much with, is that I can teach you something online and follow your progress online via, like, me and you talk a lot through Messenger, but there's other platforms that we can do a lot of video work with. So if anybody's out there interested in learning some of what I want to do, come on and talk to me, and we'll work out something.
Yeah, no, I can totally vouch for that. And you and I have been working. You've been working with me for quite a while now. And you kind of during the pandemic, I kind of semi-retired from competing because, well, in Canada we couldn't go anywhere for a few years.
Yeah,
So I kind
yeah,
of lost my confidence a little bit in whether could I still be up there with the best in the world. But with your guidance and training conditioning, like I come back and get like second and third at the world championship.
there you go.
What past couple of years. So and uh, the they were kind of controversial. Especially last year was kind of controversial whether I should have won versus getting third, but different story for different time. But
Yes,
the conditioning was right there. So anybody that's interested in it, definitely get a hold of Sifu Fanning because his stuff's for real. Like you said, he's took me to a new level, and again, I will vouch that the stuff that he teaches me I have not passed on to anybody because it's the same thing. It's like if I'm paying for it or if I'm putting in the work that he wants me to put in the work, other people have to earn the right to do that as well. So it's
yeah,
not just I'm not like I'm learning from you and going, okay, guys, I learned this, now you're gonna learn it. No, you're gonna have to many years down the road, they're gonna have to earn that from me. I've definitely checked what we do between you and I, because I
yeah,
respect what you're teaching, and I also respect that not everybody should be learning everything that you teach. I know
yeah.
like there's certain things are really dangerous, and certain people you have to trust them. And it takes a long time to build that trust. But
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah. I know. I'm looking forward to seeing you in May when you come to my tournament, and then
Mhm.
obviously tournament. I think you're planning something. Hopefully, maybe in the
October
fall.
5th. October 5th.
Okay.
So
October.
all details coming very shortly on that one, but October 5th. I'm just trying to work out logistics for materials at the moment.
So I'm definitely going to plan on going to that one because that works out really good for my calendar then.
Mhm.
So a little bit of international travel for both of us. But
Yeah.
thank you for popping on today and sharing your knowledge and your story of your kung fu and breaking.
Thank you for having me on. Been a pleasure.